Got a little ahead of myself. Praise to the Most High God, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And peace to everyone that's here today in the name of Jesus. Peace to everyone that's watching us live on the internet and listening on the phone lines. And as always, it's good to stand before you on the Lord's Sabbath day. And most of all, get some understanding out of this book, which is why we're here today, is to learn how to get salvation. Today we're going to deal with a lesson. I think I did it a couple years ago, but it seems appropriate for the time right now. It's this circus that's going on called the presidential race, but it's just going to let you know that the Lord got his hand in everything. You know, it's, the title of the lesson is The Most High Ruleth in the Kingdom of Men. Even though the Lord gave man dominion over his creation, man ultimately has to answer to God. And God is running this, he's running everything in the kingdom of man, from prime minister to president to king to class president in high school or whatever, elementary school, whatever it is, the Lord has his hand in it. And we're going to show you this out the book. Something wrong with the mic? We're going to show you this in this lesson to let you know that the Lord, he runs it. He runs it all. And scary as it may seem, you know, y'all might have a woman president. And that's scary. But if it happens, the Lord had his hand in it. Because everybody, whether they know it or not, is playing their part to facilitate what's going to bring us about to the end times, no matter who it is. You in there for a reason. So let's get into this lesson. We're going to lay the foundation and let you know that the Lord run it. And then we're going to show you how he orchestrates things within the realm of man. So we're going to start this off in Psalm 24. Psalm, the 24th chapter. We're going to pick this up at verse 1. We're going to walk our way through this. We're going to take our time and show you how the Lord deals with things. But before we go there, I want to read one verse. Go to Psalm 145. You're going to read a lot of stuff in this Bible, but we're going to let you know that whatever the Lord allows and whatever he does, it's righteous. So I want to read Psalm 145 and one verse. Flip over to Psalm 145 and let me get this one verse in, and then we're going to get into the lesson. Psalm 145. Hold on, let me get there. And verse 17, one verse. One verse, verse 17. Okay, read it.
The Lord is righteous in all his ways and holy in all his works.
So keep that in mind. The Lord is righteous in all his ways. Be they good or bad, he's righteous and holy in all his works. Keep that in mind while you're reading this lesson. You're going to read about a lot of killing, but it's the Lord orchestrating. So he's righteous. This is righteous killing. Psalm 24 and verse 1. Okay, read it.
The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof.
So the earth is the Lord's. Who does the earth belong to? It belongs to God. He created it, right? The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. Go ahead.
The world, and they that dwell therein. For he hath founded it upon the seas, and established it upon the floods.
So the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world, and everybody that's dwelling in this world belong to the Lord. You are his property, and he can do whatever he wants with you. Verse 10, read it.
Who is the King of glory? The Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory.
So who's the King of glory? The Lord of hosts. God is the King of glory. He run it. Go to Jeremiah 10. Jeremiah 10. So keep that in mind. You know, the Lord run it. And he's involved in man's affairs, whether they know it or not. Jeremiah 10, and we're going to pick it up at verse 10. Jeremiah 10 and verse 10. Okay, read.
But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and an everlasting King. At his wrath, the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide his indignation.
But the Lord is the true God. He's the living God and an everlasting King. And when he gets mad, he can shake this earth, and can't nobody stop him. Go ahead.
Thus shall ye say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens.
So all these false gods running around here that the people are worshiping, Buddha and Allah, Krishna, whatever that foolishness is, the Lord is going to destroy them because they didn't make heaven and earth. Go ahead.
He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his discretion. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightning with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of the treasures.
So when he uttereth his voice, there's a multitude of waters in the heavens. He causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth, and he make lightnings with rain. Not Mother Nature, the Lord. The Lord creates the lightning, and it comes with the rain. Let's go to Psalm 115. So we're just establishing who run it, so you don't get confused when we start reading some of this stuff or what's going on in the world today. You know, nobody acknowledges God anymore.
That's right. That is true.
You know, nobody acknowledges him. And he's the one that put you in that position. Psalm 115, a couple of verses here. Verse 15 and 16. Psalm 115, verses 15 and 16. Okay, read it.
Ye are blessed of the Lord, which made heaven and earth. The heaven, even the heavens, are the Lord's, but the earth had he given to the children of men.
Ye are blessed of the Lord, which made heaven and earth, but the heaven, even the heavens are the Lord's, but the earth he's given to the children of man. So he's given this earth to man, but remember, man has to answer to God. Because we're going to show you the order of things. Man has to answer to somebody. If it's not another person, it's God himself. Because man is destroying this earth. The Bible says the earth is defiled because the inhabitants are defiled and wicked. Let's go to Genesis 1. So he gave the earth to the children of men. Let's show you when he did it. Genesis 1. Genesis chapter 1. Let's pick it up at verse 26, because this is when he made man. 1 and 26. Okay, read.
And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
So the last thing that God made was mankind, man. And he said, look, let him have dominion. That means let him rule over the fish of the sea, which he does. You can go to SeaWorld and see that. Over the fowls of the air, you can see that too. Over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Go ahead.
So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them.
So he created them male and female. That's the mankind species, male and female. Go ahead.
And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it.
So he said he blessed them and said for them to be fruitful and multiply. He told male and female. We have to keep that, stressing that point, because this world is wicked. They say two men can get married and be fruitful and multiply. How you going to do that? Mm-hmm. Two women can get married and be fruitful and multiply. You can't do that according to this book. The book says he created a male and female and told male and female to be fruitful and multiply. Go ahead.
and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
So be fruitful, multiply, and rule this earth. Let's go to Genesis 3. Flip right over to Genesis 3. So that was the order of things in the beginning. But then sin stepped into the picture, and now the Lord had to put some hierarchy in certain areas when it came to male and female. So Eve ate of the wrong tree. Now it's time for the Lord to pass sentence, and we can see the hierarchy has changed now. Remember, he gave them dominion in the beginning, but now they done messed up. 3:16, read it.
Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrows, and thy conception in sorrow thou shalt bring forth children.
So now women have pains when they have babies. And that has not changed. Keep reading.
And thy desire shall be to thy husband.
And your desire going to be to your husband. And what is he going to do?
And he shall rule over thee.
And he going to rule over you. That's it. Some women don't like that. This is what the books say. But the only capacity he's ruling over you is you're all under the same household. Keep reading.
And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life.
You know, because Adam listened to his wife, now the ground is cursed. Now you got to work to make a living, and it won't be easy. Working is not easy. I don't care what kind of job you got. The most easiest job in the world is hard. Why? Because you got to get up to go. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to get up. Don't nobody want to get up early, go to work.
That is right.
I don't mind working. I just don't like getting up to go. But keep reading.
Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herbs of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it wast thou taken for dust. Thou art, until dust thou shalt return.
So in other words, you're going to work till you die. Ain't no such thing as retirement when it comes to the Lord. You work till you die. 1 Corinthians 11. 1 Corinthians 11. So now the order has changed. There's man ruling over the woman in righteousness now. We can read that. That's another lesson. Some brothers like to take this rulership thing to a whole different level. But the book says dwell with them according to knowledge. And knowledge of what? Knowledge of this book. The Bible tells you how to dwell with your spouse. 1 Corinthians 11 and verse 3. 11 and 3. Okay, read it.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God.
So that's the order of things. The Lord set it up. The head of every man is who? Christ. The head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. So somebody has to answer to somebody. Woman answers to the man answers to Christ, Christ answers to the Father. If any of those variables are taken out, if the woman don't have a head, then God is her head. If the man don't, well, forget that. The man, he going to be responsible for anything. The man better keep himself in order, or he going to have to answer to God. Skip down to verse 8 and read it.
For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man.
So the woman was created for the man, but there's the hierarchy here, the levels of what's the word I'm looking for? But y'all know what I'm talking about. So now let's get into this lesson. Let's go to Psalm 75. So not only will the Lord, he rules the nations, but he can also get into your relationship as well. But then that's another lesson. We can't teach it all at once. We're going to deal with the nations right now. Psalm 75, one verse. Verse 7. 75 and 7. Okay, read.
But God is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another.
So who's the judge? God is the judge. He'll take you out and put somebody else in your place. This is what we read. God is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. Flip back to Psalm 47. So we letting you know who run this. Who knows? Trump might get up in there. But remember, if he do, it's by the Lord's will. And that's scary. But he's in there for a reason. The Lord run it. We're going to show you this. Psalm 47, verse 1. Read it.
Oh, clap your hands, all ye people. Shout unto God with the voice of trumps. For the Lord Most High.
Voice of who?
Triumph.
Go ahead.
You said Trump, didn't you? For the Lord Most High is terrible. He is a great king over all the earth.
So who's the king over all the earth? The Lord. Remember that. Skip down to verse 6 and read it.
Sing praises to God. Sing praises. Sing praises unto our King. Sing praise.
Keep reading.
For God is the King of all the earth. Sing ye praises with utter understanding.
So God is the king over all the earth. Remember that. Let's go to Daniel chapter 2. God is king over all the earth. I'm sorry, read verse 8. Come on, man.
God reigneth over the heathen. God sitteth upon the throne of his holiness.
So what are the heathen? The other nations. Remember, God is king over all earth, so he runs everything. Everything. Now let's go to Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2. Let's show you the Lord in action. Daniel 2. Pick it up at verse 19. Daniel 2 and 19, because Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. It was all about some trees and stuff. You can read the dream on your own. He saw a tree that got cut down, and Daniel's going to interpret this dream for him. But look at what Daniel is telling him. Daniel 2 and verse 19. Go ahead.
Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven.
So the Lord revealed that Nebuchadnezzar's dream to Daniel, and Daniel blessed the God of heaven. And what did he say? Verse 20.
Daniel answered and said, Bless me the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his.
So wisdom and might belong to the Lord. Go ahead.
And he changes the times and the seasons.
So the Lord changes the times and the season. Why? Because he created the moon, the sun and the moon and the stars for what? For times and seasons. They do their thing too. What else do he do?
He removeth kings and setteth up kings.
He'll remove a king and set up a king. What else?
He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding.
He'll give wisdom to the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. What else?
He revealeth the deep and the secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him.
So you can't hide nothing from God. You can't hide nothing. You can hide it from man, but you can't hide it from God. He sees it all. All the dirt you're doing, he can see it. All the dirt you're thinking, he can see that too. Let's go to Titus 3. 23. Keep reading. 23, I'm sorry.
I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who hast given me wisdom and might, and hast made known unto me now what we desired of thee. For thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter.
So he got revealed, the Lord revealed that dream to him, and he wouldn't told Nebuchadnezzar. Now let's go to Titus 3. So we see the Lord set up king, and he'll take one out. He took out Kennedy, didn't he? And set up somebody else in place of him. People don't think the Lord had a hand in that, but he did. He works through men. We're going to show you that. He will anoint somebody just to kill you. But no, God wouldn't do that. Well, then something wrong with this book. Because we just read in Psalm, the Lord is holy in all his works. But this is what he told us to do. Titus 3, one verse. Verse 1. Titus 3. One verse. Hold on, let me get that. Titus 3 and 1. Okay. Go ahead and read it.
Put them in mind to be subject to principalities and powers, to obey magistrates, to be ready to every good work.
So put in mind, be subject to what? Principalities and powers. Why? Because God set these people up. So you have to obey the law. You have to, because you're going to get in trouble for it. Same way if you disobey God's law, what's going to happen? You got the lake of fire staring at you. You break man's law, what, he'll lock you up. Depending on the severity of the law you break, he'll pronounce death on you. But most of the time, you just short in the pockets a little bit because you want to run a red light. And they take a picture of you while you're running it. And you're smiling while you're going through it because you thought you got away with it. But they send you that picture in the mail with a nice fat ticket for $300. It's $400 now? Oh, okay.
More than 300.
So obey the law. Be subject to principalities and powers. Obey magistrates. Be ready for every good work. Let's go to 1 Samuel 9. 2 Peter 2. Flip over to 2 Peter chapter 2. Peter going to tell you the same thing. 2 Peter chapter 2. Pick it up at verse 13. Okay, read.
And shall receive the reward of unrighteousness.
Wait a minute, hold up. 1 Peter 2, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought that sounded strange.
1 Peter 2, you off the hook, bro. That was my fault. 1 Peter 2. Verse 13. 1 Peter 2 and 13. Okay, go ahead.
Submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether it be to the king as supreme.
So submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake. Obey the laws of the land. We know man is passing some crazy laws that are against God. You know not to mess with those. But stuff that's practical, that's to your benefit, that won't harm you, obey them. For every king, whether it be to the king as supreme or who else?
Or unto governors.
Or the governors or who else?
As unto them that are sent by him for the punishment of evildoers, and for the praise of them that do well.
Go ahead.
For so is the will of God, that with well-doing ye may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men.
So what's the will of God? For you to obey the ordinances. Obey the laws of the land. Let's go to 1 Samuel 9. 1 Samuel chapter 9. Let's look at the Lord in action. Because this race is scary, boy, I'm telling you. You got to pick the lesser of two evils. And the media is just orchestrating it too. But hey, it's the Lord's will. 1 Samuel 9, and pick it up at verse 15. 1 Samuel 9 and verse 15. Okay, read.
Now the Lord had told Samuel in his ear a day before Saul came, saying, Tomorrow about this time I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin, and thou shalt anoint him to be captain over my people, Israel, that he may save my people out of the hand of the Philistines. For I have looked upon my people, because their cry is come unto me.
So we read in the Bible, in Psalm, the Lord sets up kings, right? So now he's setting up Saul to be the king over his people. We're going to show you how he did with Israel, but then he also did with the other nations as well. We're going to show you that. The Lord has his hand in everything. Go ahead.
And when Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said unto him, Behold, the man whom I spoke to thee of, this same shall reign over my people. Then Saul drew near to Samuel in the gate, and said, Tell me, I pray thee, where the seer's house is.
Okay, that's good. We went a little
little
farther,
farther,
but that's
yeah.
all right. Flip over to Samuel 16. So Saul got anointed king. And then he messed up. Messed up bad. Sacrificing we wasn't supposed to sacrifice, killing priests, disobeying the word of the Lord. So now the Lord is going to take action on him because he set him up. Now he's going to take him out and set up somebody else in his place. 1 Samuel 16 and verse 1. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Samuel, How long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel?
So now Samuel is crying and praying to the Lord because Saul, he anointed Saul king, and, he kind of got a soft spot for Saul, even though he messed up. But the Lord told him, look, I'm through with Saul. I found me somebody else to replace him. Go ahead.
Fill thine horn with oil and go. I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And Samuel said, How can I go? If Saul hear it, he will kill me.
Okay, that's good. Skip down to verse 6. So he told him, look, I got another king from Jesse's sons. Verse 6, go ahead.
And it came to pass, when they were come, that he looked on Eliab, and said, Surely the Lord's anointed is before him.
So now Jesse's parading all his sons before Samuel. And Samuel thinking that, he's like, this has got to be the one. Because he's still got Saul in the back of his mind. Because remember, Saul was tall in stature. Saul was a pretty good looking cat. That's what the books say. So quite naturally, that's the guy you want to be king. That's the one that people chose. The Lord chose him. He got anointed. His kingship went to his head and he messed up. So now it's time for a new king. So Samuel's looking at Eliab and says, surely this is the Lord's anointed, because he's looking at the outward appearance. Go ahead.
But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance, or on the height of his statue, because I have refused him, for the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart.
And that's with woman too. Everybody looking on the outside. Mm-hmm. You could be the most handsomest dude around and be evil. Same way with the woman.
That is right.
Evil. Because you're looking at the outside.
Right. That's it.
This is what the book say. The Lord don't see the outside. Jesus wasn't the handsomest looking dude in the world. The book say what did the book say? Isaiah 53?
Was nothing desirable
right.
about in him.
He didn't stand out in the crowd. He was a regular Joe, like everybody else. Nothing stood out about Jesus. But the Lord looks at the inside, not the physical, not the outside. Keep reading.
Then Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel. And he said, Neither hath the Lord chosen this. Then Jesse made Shemaiah to pass Shema to pass by. And he said, Neither hath the Lord chosen this. Again Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. And Samuel said unto Jesse, The Lord hath not chosen these.
So now the Lord is telling Samuel, look, ain't no one, this dude ain't the one, this dude ain't the one, this dude ain't the one. So that's like 7 sons. Like, Lord, what else? Keep reading.
And Samuel said unto Jesse, Are here all thy children? And he said, There remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep.
So he told me, I got one more boy, but he out there keeping the sheep. Go ahead.
And Samuel said unto Jesse, Send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither. And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to. And the Lord said, Arise, anoint him, for this is he.
So now this is David. He was a shepherd, herding the sheep. Said he was ruddy. He had a beautiful countenance. He was goodly to look to. And the Lord told Samuel, that's him. Anoint him king. Go ahead.
Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah.
So Samuel anointed David. And we know David, he was the baddest dude around. He killed a whole lot of people. He went from a shepherd, from being a sheep herder, to a man killer, just by being anointed king. But he was doing that for the Lord now. Let's go to 1 Kings 12. All right, man. 1 Kings chapter 12. 1 Kings 12. And pick it up at verse 1. 1 Kings 12 and verse 1. Now this is Rehoboam, which is Solomon's son. He got anointed king. Go ahead. 12 and 1.
And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass, when Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, for he was fled from the presence of King Solomon, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt.
Now Jeroboam had to book up because Solomon was looking to take him out. So he ran to Egypt. But he heard Rehoboam had been made king. Verse 3, go ahead.
That they sent and called him. And Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, Thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father, and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve thee. And he said unto them, Depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed.
So now they went to Rehoboam and they said, look, man, your daddy was pretty rough on us now. Now you the new king. Can you just cut us some slack a little bit? So he said, all right, let me talk to my boys for about 3 days. I'll come back with you with an answer. Go ahead.
And King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father, while he yet lived, and said, How do ye advise that I may answer this people?
So he went to the elders now, young man going to the old folks to seek some understanding. So they was like, he asked them, how should I advise the people? And they told him, go ahead.
And they spake unto him, saying, If thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and wilt serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, then they will be thy servants forever.
So, serve the people. You may rule them, but rule them with righteousness. Go ahead.
But he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, and which stood before him.
So he didn't get the count. He just said, them old cats don't know what they talking about. I'm going to go to my homies, man. What y'all think we should do? So he went right along with his partners, right? Now what happened? Go ahead.
And he said unto them, What counsel give ye, that we may answer this people, who have spoken to me, saying, Make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter. And the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, Thou shalt speak unto this people that spake unto thee, saying.
So this is what you tell him. This is his partners told him to tell him this. Go ahead.
Thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, My little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins.
So he told him, look, you think my father's yoke was heavy. You ain't seen nothing yet. This is what he's telling the people. Now he listened to his boys. Verse 11, go ahead.
And now, whereas my father did laid you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father hath chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions.
Now, what is that? This is the king. The people are asking for some mercy, because Solomon was rough on him. Now his son is telling him, look, I'm going to be worse than my daddy. Ain't nobody going to follow you if you like that. So we got some division now. Verse 12, go ahead.
So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had appointed, saying, come to me again the third day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him, and spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, my father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from the Lord.
So he didn't listen to the people. Why? Because the cause was from the Lord. The Lord is setting this up because he's getting ready to split the nation. Remember, this is coming from the Lord. Go ahead.
That he might perform his saying, which the Lord spake by Ahijah the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat.
Okay, skip down to verse 19. So remember, this is coming from the Lord. Remember, he ruleth in the kingdom of men. He's orchestrating this. He forsook the counsel of the old man and listened to the young man. Why? Because it's coming from the Lord. Verse 19, read it.
So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only.
So the nation split, and they made Jeroboam king. Go ahead, verse 21.
And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah with the tribe of Benjamin, and 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors to fight against the house of Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon.
So now Rehoboam got mad. He assembled some warriors to do what? Go fight their own brothers to bring them back. But you the one that split them up by the hand of the Lord. So now you're going to bring them back by force, and you the one that forced them out. Go ahead.
But the word of God came unto Shemaiah, the man of God, saying, speak unto Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and unto all the house of Judah and Benjamin, and to the remnant of the people, saying, thus said the Lord, ye shall not go up, nor fight against your brethren, the children of Israel. Return every man to his house, for this thing is from me. They hearken therefore to the word of the Lord, and return to depart according to the word of the Lord.
So the word of the Lord came to the prophet, and he told him, look, don't you go up against a fight against your brother. This is coming from me. Everybody go home. I'm doing this. Let's go to 1 Kings 12.
Exodus.
Exodus? Yeah, Exodus. 4. I'm sorry, these colors. Exodus 4. So we see who orchestrated the split. It was the Lord. Exodus 4. And pick it up at verse 18. Exodus 4 and 18. Okay, read.
And Moses went and returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said unto him, let me go, I pray thee, and return unto my brethren which are in Egypt, and see whether they be yet alive. And Jethro said to Moses, go in peace.
So this is when the Lord appointed Moses to go and free the children of Israel from Egypt. He got the message from the angel in the burning bush. And now he went to his daddy-in-law and said, look, I got to go, Pops. I got to go see if my people is alive so I can go get them. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses in Midian, go return into Egypt, for all the men are dead which sought thy life. And Moses took his wife and his son and set them upon an ass. And he returned to the land of Egypt. And Moses took the rod of God in his hand. And the Lord said unto Moses, when thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thine hand. But I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go.
So he told Moses, go to Egypt and go tell Pharaoh, do all those wonders that I showed you. So Pharaoh can let the people go, but he won't let them go because I'm going to harden his heart. So who hardened Pharaoh's heart? The Lord. So he could execute judgment on Egypt. He made Pharaoh hard-headed and stiff-necked. So who is that coming from? It's coming from the Lord. So he can perform his action. Remember, he rules in the kingdom of men. Let's go to Judges 9. Judges 9. This is Abimelech. He killed 69 of his brothers just so he could be king. And the people knew what he did, and they elected him king. But the Lord had his hand in it. Judges 9. Pick it up at verse 1. Judges chapter 9 and verse 1. So that's why don't be surprised when all this stuff is happening in the political arena today. Don't. Just know who's in charge of it, who's running it. Judges 9 and verse 1. Go ahead.
And Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren and communed with them and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether it's better for you either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, which are 70 persons, reign over you, or that one reign over you. Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh.
So Jerubbaal had 70 kids. That's a lot of kids. Plus Abimelech from a woman from another part of the town. So now Abimelech is telling them, look, is it better for 70 people to rule over you or just one? And remember, I'm from amongst y'all. We kinfolk, remember? Verse 3, go ahead.
And his mother's brethren spake of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words, and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech. For they said, He is our brother.
So his mother's brethren pumped him up. Abimelech, let him rule over us. But what about these other 70 brothers you got, man? We got to do something with them because they ain't going to go for this. Go ahead.
And they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Baal Berith, wherewith Abimelech hired vain and light persons which followed him.
So they said, this is what we're going to do, man. We're going to give you 70 pieces of silver. Go hire you some thugs and deal with this. Because that's what a vain and a light person is, to be soft-spoken. He's a thug. Go ahead.
And he went unto his father's house at Ophrah, and slew his brethren, the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70 persons upon one stone, notwithstanding yet Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left, for he hid himself.
So he killed 69 of his brothers, one by one, but only one escaped, the youngest one. Go ahead.
And all the men of Shechem gathered together, and all the house of Milo, and went and made Abimelech king by the plain of the pillar that was in Shechem.
So now if 69 of his brothers are dead and the youngest one ran off because he was scared, Abimelech is the only one left. So they had an election, and he won by a landslide. Go ahead. Skip down to verse 16, because the Lord weighed in on it now. Go ahead.
Now, therefore, if ye have done truly and sincerely in that ye have made Abimelech king, and if ye have dealt well with Jerubbaal and his house, and have done unto him according to the deserving of his hands. For my father fought for you, and adventured his life far, and delivered you out of the hand of Midian. And ye are risen up again, my father's house, this day, and have slain his sons, 70 persons, upon one stone, and have made Abimelech the son of his maidservant king over the men of Shechem, because he is your brother. If ye then have dealt truly and sincerely with Jerubbaal and with his house this day, then rejoice ye in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice in you.
So now Jotham had escaped. He spun a parable to him and told the people, look, if you've done rightly by my father and made him king, then rejoice and be happy because you did the right thing. But if you didn't, verse 20, go ahead.
But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech and devour the men of Shechem and the house of Milo. And let fire come out from the men of Shechem and from the house of Milo and devour Abimelech. And Jotham ran away and fled and went to Beer and dwelt there for fear of Abimelech his brother.
So if you didn't do right by electing him king, then let fire come out from the Lord and devour you and everybody else in there. And then he booked up because he was scared of Abimelech. And let's see what happened. So he was living good for a little while. But remember, the Lord weighed in on it. Verse 22, go ahead.
When Abimelech had reigned 3 years over Israel.
Now, this is 3 years later. He thought he had it made. Or he thought he was getting away. He didn't get away with nothing. He was just getting by for a period of time. Go ahead.
Then God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem. And the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech.
So the people that elected him king, all of a sudden, this is a coup de grace? We about to get rid of this dude. Now they fighting him, and he fighting the people. Go ahead.
That the cruelty done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal might come, and their blood be laid upon Abimelech, their brother, which slew them, and upon the men of Shechem, which aided him in the killing of his brother.
So the Lord sent that evil spirit, and now everybody fighting each other. And Abimelech, you can read it on your own. He was on a killing spree, but he was going crazy. And it got to the point where the woman just threw a rock out the window and just busted his head open. Skip down to verse 56 and read it. Well, that's what happened. 56 and read it. Let's see what the Lord did to him. Go ahead.
Thus God rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his fathers, in slaying his 70 brethren.
Go ahead.
And all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their heads, and upon them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal.
So we read the Lord to take a king out and put another one in his place. But God rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father, in killing his 70 brothers. And all the evil men of Shechem did God render up on their heads, because they knew they was wrong for electing this dude king, because they knew what he did. They gave him the money to kill those brothers. So the Lord, he know how to fix things. He will get you. Isaiah 19. He will get you because he run it. Man thought he was getting away. 3 years. Sitting pretty for 3 years, and all of a sudden just chaos coming from the Lord. Isaiah 19. Verse 1, read it.
The burden of Egypt. Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be removed at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom.
Just like we read in Judges 9. In-house fighting. Go ahead.
And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And the Egyptians will give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord, of the Lord of hosts.
So the Lord is taking down Egypt. And he said, look, I'm going to hand you over to a cruel king, a fierce king, and he shall rule over them, said the Lord of hosts. Go ahead.
And the water shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up. And they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defense shall be emptied, and dried up. The reeds and flags shall wither. The paper reeds by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sworn by the brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. The fishers also shall mourn, and all that they cast angle into the brooks shall lament, and they that spread nets upon the waters shall languish.
Now this is Egypt now. The Lord took Egypt down before. And then they came back, but now he's going to take them down again. Go ahead.
Moreover, they that work in fine flax, and they that weave networks shall be confounded. And they that be broken in the purposes thereof, all that make sluices and ponds for fish.
Sluices. Go ahead.
Surely the princes of Zoan are fools. The counsel of the wise counselors of Pharaoh is become brutish. How say ye unto Pharaoh, I am the son of the wise, the son of ancient kings? Where are they? Where are they, wise men? And let them tell thee now, and let them know what the Lord of hosts hath purposed upon Egypt.
Go ahead.
The princes of Zoan are become fools. The princes of Nope are deceived. They have also seduced Egypt, even they that are the stay of the tribes thereof. The Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit.
So the Lord caused this perverse spirit in the midst of Egypt to do what? Tear him up. And he equated it to like a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. Let's go to 1 Kings 21. We're going to start wrapping it up. 1 Kings 21. So the Lord would take a nation out, let him build himself back up again, take him out again. This is the God that we serve. This is how he operates. He'll put a crazy man in office just to mess the whole world up. Bush did not win by accident, I'm telling you. There was a reason. He got up in there because the Lord put him in there to do what? Do everything he did for those 8 years to bring us to this point right here. 1 Kings 21, and this is Ahab. Everybody know Ahab. He was crazy, weak, married to a wicked woman. She ran it, had a man put to death because he wanted his vineyard. But let's see what the Lord is going to do to him because of that act. 1 Kings 21, pick it up at verse 17. Go ahead.
And the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, Arise, go down to meet Ahab, king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whither he is gone down to possess it. And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus said the Lord, hast thou killed and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus said the Lord, in the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. And Ahab said to Elijah, Hast thou found me, O mine enemy? And he answered, I have found thee because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord.
So Elijah was telling him he was always on Ahab because Ahab was wicked. So he hated Elijah. So now he had this man killed by the hand of his wife, went down and was skipping around in his vineyard, and Elijah found him and said, Look, you have killed and taken possession. Now I'm going to get you. What is the Lord going to do? Verse 21.
Behold, I will bring evil upon thee, and will take away thy posterity, and will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel.
So he told him, look, the Lord said, I'm going to bring evil on thee and take away their posterity, and will cut off Ahab, him that pisses against the wall. He's talking about men. He's going to cut off all the men in his household. Go ahead.
And will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, the son of Ahijah, for the provocation wherewith thou hast provoked me to anger and made Israel to sin. And of Jezebel also spake the Lord, saying, the dog shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel.
And it's for that wicked wife you married. The dog's going to eat her. This is the Lord now. The Lord sent some dogs to eat this woman up so she couldn't be buried. Ate her up. Remember, the Lord is righteous in all his works. We read that. So if he sent some dogs to eat this woman, that was righteous because she was wicked. But go ahead.
Him that dieth of Ahab in the city the dogs shall eat, and him that dieth in the field shall the fowls of the air eat.
So every beast, animal going to have some good food off of Ahab's family. The birds going to eat them. The dogs going to eat them. Go ahead.
But there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of the Lord, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up, and he did very abominably in following idols, according to all things, as did the Amorites, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard those words, that he rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his flesh, and fasted, and laid in sackcloth, and went softly.
So when he heard them words, that was scared him to death. The best thing he could do was humble himself. He ripped his clothes off, put on some sackcloth and ashes, humbled himself quickly. But you know, once the Lord say something, it's got to come through. But he gave him a pass, though. Go ahead. Verse 28. Go ahead.
And the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, seest thou how Ahab humbleth himself before me? Because he humbleth himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house.
So he gave him a pass. He said, look, you're not going to be alive when I kill your sons. You're going to be dead, because I already told you I'm going to kill you, Ahab. But all this evil I'm going to bring upon you, you ain't going to see this. I'm going to kill you first. And it happened. So now let's fast forward to 2 Kings 9, because he had to do this. He pronounced sentence on Ahab. Ahab humbled himself. The Lord gave him a pass. He said, look, you ain't going to see this, but I'm going to do it. And the Lord didn't come down personally to do it. What did he do? He anointed him a king to take out Ahab's household. Let's look at it. 2 Kings chapter 9. And pick it up at verse 1. 2 Kings 9 and verse 1. Okay, read it.
And Elisha the prophet called one of the children of the prophets and said unto him, gird up thy loins, and take this box of oil in thine hand, and go to Ramoth Gilead. And when thou comest thither, look out there Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, and go in and make him arise up from among his brethren, and carry him in an inner chamber. Then take the box of oil and pour it on his head, and say, thus said the Lord, I have appointed thee king over Israel. Then open the door and flee, and tarry not.
So he told him, look, go to Jehu, go to Ramoth Gilead and find Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat. Take that box of oil, pour it on his head, anoint him, and run. Go ahead.
So the young man, even the young man, the prophet, went to Ramoth Gilead. And when he came, behold, the captains of the host were sitting, and he said, I have erred to thee, O captain. And Jehu said, unto which of all us? And he said, to thee, O captain. And he arose and went into the house, and he poured the oil on his head, and said unto him.
He found Jehu and said, look. Jehu was like, which one you want? You want all of us or just me? He was like, just you. So come with me. Poured the oil on his head, and look at what he said. Go ahead.
Thus said the Lord God of Israel, I have anointed thee king over the people of the Lord, even over Israel. And thou shalt smite the house of Ahab, thy master, that I may avenge the blood of my servants, the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of the Lord at the hand of Jezebel.
I'm trying to figure out what was Jehu like before he got anointed king to do all this assassination. I mean, he was just chilling with his boys right then. And all of a sudden, he got anointed king, and he became a master killer. He went on a killing spree. You can read it on your own. We ain't going to read it all. But once he got anointed king, his main mission was to take out Ahab's house. Because that's what the Lord said he was going to do. He told Ahab, I'm going to bring this in your son's days. And his son happened to be king at the time. Go ahead.
For the whole house of Ahab shall perish, and I will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. And I will make the house of Ahab like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, the son of Ahijah. And the dogs shall eat Jezebel in the portion of Jezreel, and there shall be none to bury her. And he opened the door and fled.
So as soon as he anointed him, he told him what his mission was, and he ran. Because you did not want to be in this guy's way after he got anointed. Because he went on a killing spree. He started off killing. Skip down to verse 16 and read it. His boys was happy. He got anointed king. They was, had a big party for him. But go ahead, verse 16. He on his mission now. Go ahead.
So Jehu rode in a chariot and went to Jezreel. For Jeroboam lay there, and Ahijah, king of Judah, was come down to see Jeroboam. And there stood a watchman on the tower in Jezreel, and he spied the company of Jehu as he came, and said, I see a company. And Jeroboam said, take an horseman and send to meet them, and let them say, is it peace?
So the watchmen saw this horse coming with these chariots, and they said, look, go down there and say, are you coming in peace? Go ahead.
So there went one on horseback to meet him, and said, thus said the king, is it peace? And Jehu said, what hast thou to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, the messenger came to them, but he cometh not again.
So the watchman said, look, we sent the messenger out, but he didn't come back. Go ahead.
Then he sent out a second on horseback, which came to them, and said, thus said the king, is it peace? And Jehu answered, what hast thou to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, he came even unto them, and cometh not again. And the driving is like the driving of Jehu, the son of Nimshi, for he driveth furiously. And Joram said, make ready. And his chariot was made ready. And Joram, king of Israel, and Ahijah, king of Judah, went out each in his chariot, and they went out against Jehu, and met him in the portions of Naboth, the Jezreelite. And it came to pass, when Joram saw Jehu, that he said, is it peace, Jehu? And he answered, what peace so long as the whoredoms of thy mother Jezebel, and her witchcraft are so many? And Joram turned his head and fled, and said to Ahijah, there is treachery, O Ahijah. And Jehu drew a bow with his full strength, and smote Jeroboam between his arms, and the arrow went out at his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot.
So that's just the beginning of his killing. He killing kings and everybody else. He don't care. His main mission is to get Ahab's kids. He got them. Killed 70 of his kids, or was it 7 of his sons? 70 sons, he killed them. And then Jezebel got her too. Got the eunuchs to throw her out the window. Because they were scared of Jehu. He was on a mission. Go to Isaiah 37. Isaiah 37. So the Lord will put somebody in a position of power to do some foolishness just to accomplish his mission. Because like I said, everybody that's in power right now and everybody that's after them is just bringing us to the end times. They all playing their part. But you know, the churches ain't saying nothing. Because I'm telling you, they're going to get caught up in this tribulation. And they're going to be looking for Jakes and old Steen.
To beat them up.
Isaiah 37. And this is Sennacherib. He was the king of Assyria. He's coming against Israel. Had Hezekiah shut up like a caged bird. And then he got so big in his own mind, he started talking about God. First, he laid his resume down to Hezekiah and said, look, I done defeated all these nations. What makes you think your God is going to deliver you out of my hands? That's where he messed up. So the Lord weighed in on him. Isaiah 37 and verse 1. Go ahead.
And it came to pass when King Hezekiah heard it, that he rent his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth and went into the house of the Lord. And he sent Eliakim, who was over the household, and Shebna, the scribe, and the elders of the priests covered with sackcloth unto Isaiah, the prophet, the son of Amos.
So whatever Sennacherib told him, he was scared. He went into some heavy praying, went into the house of the Lord and was praying, and all the priests with him too. Go ahead.
And they said unto him, thus said Hezekiah, this day is a day of trouble, and of rebuke, and of blasphemy, for the children are come to the birth, and there is not strength to bring forth. It may be the Lord thy God will hear the words of Rabshakeh, whom the king of Assyria, his master, had sent to reproach the living God, and will reprove the words which the Lord thy God hath heard, wherewith lift up thy prayer for the remnant that is left. So the servants of King Hezekiah came to Isaiah, and Isaiah said unto them, thus shall ye say unto your master, thus saith the Lord, be not afraid of the words that thou hast heard, wherewith the servants of the king of Assyria have blasphemed me.
So they came to Isaiah, and Isaiah told them, look, don't worry about what this dude said. Go ahead.
Behold, I will send a blast upon him, and he shall hear a rumor and return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. So Rabshakeh returned and found the king of Assyria warring against Libnah, for he had heard that he was departed from Lachish.
Okay, skip down to verse 21 and read that. Go ahead.
Then Isaiah the son of Amos sent unto Hezekiah, saying, thus said the Lord God of Israel, whereas thou hast prayed to me against
Sennacherib.
You got me with that one. Sennacherib, king of Assyria. This is the word which the Lord had spoken concerning him. The virgin, the daughter of Zion, have despised thee and laughed thee to scorn. The daughter of Jerusalem hath shaken her head at thee. Whom hast thou reproached and blasphemed? And against whom hast thou exalted thy voice and lifted up thine eyes on high, even against the Holy One of Israel?
So the Lord answered Hezekiah's prayer. He told him, look, this is what you tell Hezekiah. The word of the Lord is spoken concerning the virgin, the daughter of Zion, had despised thee and laughed thee to scorn. The daughter of Jerusalem has shaken her head at thee. They was like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about, man. You about to get got. Skip down to verse 33 and read it. Let's see what happened to him. Go ahead.
Therefore thus said the Lord concerning the king of Assyria.
So he said, just said the Lord concerning the king of Assyria. What did he tell him?
He shall not come into this city.
He ain't coming into this city.
Nor shoot an arrow there.
He ain't gonna even shoot an arrow.
Nor come before it with shields, nor cast a bank against it. By the way that he came, By the same shall he return, and shall not come into this city, saith the Lord. For I will defend this city to save it for my own sake and for my servant David's sake.
So by the way he came, he going to return. He ain't coming into this city. I'm going to save this city for my servant's sake, my servant David's sake, and for my own. Go ahead. What happened?
Then the angel of the Lord went forth and smote in the camp of Assyrians, and 185,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses.
So the Lord sent one angel and killed 185,000 soldiers. Killed them. Go ahead, verse 37.
So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt at Nineveh.
So look, he ain't got no army. He might as well go home. So he turned, like the Lord said, by the way he came is the way he gonna leave. So he went back home, and what happened? Verse 38.
And it came to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch, his god, and Adramelech, and Sharezar, his son, smote him with the sword.
So when he was in his temple worshiping his God, what happened? His two sons came in there and killed him. Took him out. Go ahead.
And they escaped into the land of Armenia. And Esarhaddon, his son, reigned in his stead.
So two of his boys killed him and booked up. And then the other son reigned in his stead. So the Lord deals with other nations too. Took out Sennacherib and put somebody else in his place. And people think this is a fairy tale, but this actually happened. Let's go into this history book right here and show you this happened. Read this right here. This is the last 2 million years, page 56. I didn't put it in the lesson, but this is a last minute thing. This is recorded history to let you know this Bible ain't no fairy tale. Read that's in yellow right there. Go ahead.
Sennacherib sacked and burnt Babylon, in his own words, the city and its houses, from its foundations to its tops. I destroyed, I devastated, I burnt with fire.
And we didn't read all that, but he was doing his resume to Hezekiah. All the nations he destroyed. These Assyrians were some bad people. They made a pyramid out of bodies. Go ahead.
Through the midst of that city, I dug canals. I flooded its site with water, and the very foundation thereof I destroyed. Jerusalem was also besieged in 701 BC. The occasion on which, in the words of Byron's poems, the Assyrians came down like the wolf of the fold. Sennacherib extorted tribute from Hezekiah according to the Old Testament. Hezekiah cut off the gold from the doors of the temple of the Lord and from the pillars, and gave it to the king of Assyria's. Inscriptions in own palaces boast of how he shut up Hezekiah like a caged bird.
So they went back and wrote about their exploits of what they did in inscriptions in their own palace. You know, archaeologists, they found this stuff. This really happened. Go ahead.
But the Assyrians failed to take Jerusalem before plagues forced them to withdraw.
And we know what that plague was. That was one angel. So we got history lining up with the Bible to let you know this is the real deal. This is the God we serve. He has sent an angel to kill you. Jeremiah 27. And we almost done. Jeremiah 27. Let you know the Lord rules in the kingdom of man. He run it. 27:1. Read it.
In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came this word unto Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus said the Lord to me, Make thee bonds and yokes, and put them upon thy neck, and send them to the king of Edom, and to the king of Moab, and to the king of the Ammonites, and to the king of Tyrus, and to the king of Zidon, by the hand of the messengers which come to Jerusalem unto Zedekiah, king of Judah, and command them to say unto their masters, Thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, thus shall ye say unto your masters, I have made the earth, the man, and the beast that are upon the ground by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet unto me.
So this is what he's telling them. He said, look, you tell them this. This is what the Lord said. I made the earth, the man, and the beast that are up on the ground. And by my great power and my outstretched arm, I'm going to give it to whoever I think is good to give it to. Go ahead.
And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beasts of the field have I given him also to serve him.
So now I done gave it to who? Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon.
And
my servant. The Lord called Nebuchadnezzar his servant to do his will, and he did it. Go ahead.
And all nations shall serve him, and his son, and his son's sons, until the very time of his land come. And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him.
So this is the beginning of the Gentile dynasty. Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian. He said, all nations shall serve him and his son and his son's sons until the very time of this land come, and many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him. Who run this world, brothers and sisters? The Gentiles run it. They run it. And if you don't want to go along with them, they'll take you out. Ishmael, you know, he doing his little thing. Believe me, if the Gentile wanted to take him out, he'd be gone right now. Mm-hmm. But he, you know, raising a little Cain every now and then, you know, to keep the rest of white America at bay and looking out the corner of their eye at everybody else. But, you know, he playing his part too. Everybody's playing their part. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that will not put their necks under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, saith the Lord, with the sword and with the famine and with the pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand.
So the Lord said, look, if you don't want to serve these Gentile nations, if you don't want to serve this Gentile dynasty, the Lord said, I'm going to take you out because I put them in charge to do and accomplish what I need accomplished. Now, y'all either go along with this program or I'm going to take you out before it's your time to get taken out. Go ahead.
Therefore, hearken not ye to your prophets, nor to your diviners, nor to your dreamers, nor to your enchanters, nor to your scorners, which speak unto you, saying, Ye shall not serve the king of Babylon. For thy prophecy a lie unto you, to remove you far from your land, and that I should drive you out, and ye should perish.
That's right. Go ahead.
But the nations that bring their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon and serve him, those will I let remain, still in their own land, saith the Lord, and they shall till it and dwell therein.
So go along with the program, you'll be all right. If not, the Lord said, I'm going to take you out. Let's go to Daniel chapter 5. Daniel 5. You all right, bro?
I'm good, man.
You good? All right.
Yeah.
Daniel chapter 5. Pick it up at verse 1. Daniel 5 and verse 1. So the Lord deals with other nations too. He run it. It's no accident that, you know, Putin is still in charge of Russia. That's no accident. That was orchestrated by the Lord. Daniel 5 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, whiles he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels, which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple, which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubine might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem. And the king and his princes his wives and his concubine drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone.
Big mistake. They should have just kept drinking out them aluminum cans they had. Don't go and get the fine china to drink from. No. That was a big mistake to mess with the vessels that came out the house of the Lord. Go ahead.
In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrought over against the candlesticks upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote.
So they saw a hand just appear out of nowhere and start writing on the wall. Sobered up quick. That's like when you driving drunk and you see them police lights behind you. You try to sober up real quick, don't you? But you busted already. So that's what happened to him. They sobered up quick and got scared. Go ahead.
Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another.
I hope ain't none of y'all driving drunk now. Maybe that was back in the day, right? But go ahead, keep reading.
The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Then came in all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writing nor make known to the king the interpretation thereof.
So now the king wanted to know what the handwriting on the wall meant. But none of his wise men, or so-called wise men, astrologers and soothsayers and tarot card readers, whatever they were, they couldn't read or interpret this writing on the wall. Verse 9, go ahead.
Then was King Belshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished.
So now he was greatly troubled, because couldn't nobody tell him what this meant. And he knew it had to mean something bad, or else his knees wouldn't have been knocking. Skip down to verse 17 and read it. So then, Daniel interpreted the writing for him. Go ahead.
Then Daniel answered and said before the king, let thy gifts be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another.
So he told him, look, keep the gold chain. I don't want no gold chain. I don't even want to be third ruler. Because what I'm about to tell you, it ain't going to make a difference, because you're going to be dead. Go ahead.
Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make known to him the interpretation. O thou king, the most high God gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom, and majesty, and glory, and honor.
Who gave him that kingdom? God did it. Go ahead.
And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him, whom he slew, and whom he kept alive, and whom he set up, and whom he put down. But when his heart was lifted up, and his mind hardened in his pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beast, and his dwellings was with the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High God ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over it whomsoever he will.
So now he telling him about his daddy, what the Lord did to his daddy. He said, look, the Lord God gave your father the whole world to rule. But pride lifted him up, and I had to show him who was really running it. I gave it to you, and I can take it away. So he made Nebuchadnezzar go crazy. For 7 years, the dude was nuts, walking around eating grass like the ox. And then all of a sudden, we're going to read it. He came to his senses. But we're going to get to that anyway. But go ahead, keep reading.
But hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives, and thy concubine have drunk wine in them. And thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold, and of brass, iron, wood and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified.
So instead of praising the Lord God of Israel, they was praising gods of silver, gold, brass, iron, wood, and stone. That's what got them in trouble. Go ahead.
Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. What is that?
Read it.
Many tickle
Upharsin.
This is the interpretation of the thing. Many God hath numbered thy kingdoms and finished it.
So many. God has numbered your kingdom and finished it. You finished, partner. Go ahead.
Tickle thou art weighed in the balances.
Tekel.
Thou art weighed in the balances, and art found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck.
Didn't Daniel tell him, I don't need the gifts? He must have forgot what he just told him and what many meant, dude. You finished. You done. Keep this stuff, man. Go ahead.
And made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be third ruler in the kingdom. And that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain.
So I guess Daniel was third ruler for what, a couple hours? Because the Lord killed him, Belshazzar, that night. And did what? Verse 31.
And Darius the Median took the kingdoms, being about 62 years old.
And he gave it to Darius the Median. Just like that. The Lord took one king out and put another one in his place. Let's go to Daniel 8. Flip right over to Daniel 8. Because Daniel had a dream. He saw a ram and a goat, and he wanted to know the meaning of it. And the Lord is going to tell him. Daniel 8 and verse 1. Read it.
In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan, in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. Then I lifted up mine eyes, and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a man which had 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other.
So now he's looked up his eyes, and he saw there was a ram by the river with 2 horns. But one horn was higher than the other, and the higher one came up last. We got a whole lesson on that. We don't have time for it right now, but go ahead.
And the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had notable horns between his eyes. And he came to the ram and had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
So you got a ram doing this thing, and all of a sudden here come this goat coming along, beating up the ram. That ain't even in nature right there. Goats and the ram will kill a goat in a minute. You put them horns on them, you know how they got them horns like this? You see when they be butting heads? Ram will take a goat out in a minute. But this goat is beating up this ram. But this is, it's a parable, but go ahead.
And I saw him come close.
Or a vision, I should say. It's a vision. Go ahead.
And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven.
So the goat beat the ram up, and the goat became great, and the great horn was broken, and four horns came up out of his head. Go ahead.
And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceedingly great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them.
So now Daniel wanted to know the interpretation of this dream, okay? So the Lord sent the angel to tell him, and this is what the dream means. This is about the ram and the goat. Go ahead, verse 20. 15, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, when I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then, behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision.
So Gabriel going to let him know what the vision is. Skip down to verse 20 and read it.
The ram which thou sawest, having two horns, are the kings of Media and Persia.
Now the ram which thou sawest, having two horns, are the kings of the Medes and the Persians. Go ahead.
And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
So the rough goat is the king of Greece. The Lord is calling this in order. Now this is taking place before it's taken place. That just shows you the God that we serve. He had called the Gentile dynasty in order. And actually, Daniel chapter 8 is supposed to be, well, this is out of order anyway, but remember, Belshazzar got killed in chapter 5. But Daniel 8 tells you in the third year of the reign of King Belshazzar. So 8 is actually supposed to be before 5. But that's another lesson. But let's go to 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles 36. So Darius the Median inherited the kingdom from Nebuchadnezzar's son Belshazzar. And the Medes didn't do too much. The Persians is the one that raised a lot of Cain because they were in power when Alexander the Great took them out. But let's look at this Persian king, Cyrus. 2 Chronicles 36. And we're going to read a couple verses, 22 and 23. Okay, read it.
Now in the first years of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying.
So now the Lord stirred him up because he's in charge. This is what he said. Go ahead.
Thus said Cyrus, king of Persia, all the kingdoms of the earth hath the Lord God of heaven given me, and he hath charged me to build him an house in Jerusalem.
So who gave him all the kings of the earth, all the kingdoms of the earth? The Lord did. And this is Cyrus, a Gentile king of Persia. All the kingdoms of the earth have the Lord God of heaven given me. Go ahead.
Which is in Judah, who is there among you of all his people. The Lord his God be with him, and let him go up.
So he made a proclamation to let the captives of Babylon go back to Jerusalem and build a temple. Go to Isaiah 45. Isaiah 45. To show you how the Lord called Cyrus before Cyrus was even born. So he can pick anybody he wants to accomplish his mission, be you good or evil. Because he will take the wicked person to punish the good man. Because the good man was acting up. Isaiah 45, and pick it up at verse 1. 45 and 1. Go ahead.
Thus said the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him, And I will loose the loins of kings to open before him the two leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut.
So this is Cyrus, the anointed, his anointed. The Lord called Cyrus his anointed just like he called Nebuchadnezzar his servant. The Lord is setting up other kings other than Israel to accomplish his mission. Go ahead, verse 2.
I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gate of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron. And I will give thee the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, the Lord, which call thee by thy name, am the God of Israel.
Okay, let's go to Matthew 17. Matthew 17, we almost done. So to let you know that we know the Lord, he set him up, he'll take you out. And hopefully he'll take you out peacefully. You can retire out of office instead of getting killed. But if you happen to be killed, remember the Lord had a hand in it. Matthew 17. And pick it up at verse 24. Let you know it's still good in the New Testament too. 17 and 24. Matthew 17, verse 24. Okay, read.
And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter and said, do not your master pay tribute?
So now they came to Capernaum, and they looked at Peter and said, look, does Jesus pay tribute? And what did verse 25, go ahead, what did Jesus tell him?
He said, yes. And when he was come into the house, Jesus prevented him, saying, what thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children or of strangers? Peter saith unto him, O strangers. Jesus saith unto him, then are those children free? Notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea and cast and hook and take up the fish that first cometh up. And when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money, that take and give unto them for me and thee.
So he told him, look, what thinkest thou, Simon? Do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute of their own children or of strangers? And Peter saith unto him, of strangers. And Jesus said to him, then the children aren't free. So if you're not free, then go ahead and pay your taxes. In other words. So Jesus said, look, notwithstanding, we don't want to offend the rulers that be, because the book say what? Obey magistrates, submit yourselves to the ordinances of man. If you got to pay your taxes, pay your taxes. Pay them. People looking for loopholes on not to pay. Well, that loophole is going to get you caught in your hole, and you're going to find yourself behind some bars. You got to pay Caesar his money. Let's go to Luke 20. And I got 3 more places. Luke 20. I always say, pay your taxes to Caesar, or Caesar will seize your property and your bank account. And then he'll take you to jail for 4 or 5 years where you can't make no money. And then when you get out, you still got that big debt you got to pay. Luke 20 and verse 19. Go ahead.
And the chief priests and the scribes the same hour sought to lay hands on him, and they feared the people, for they perceived that he had spoken this parable against them. And they watched him and sent forth spies, which should find themselves just men, that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor. And they asked him, saying, Master, we know that thou sayest and teachest rightly, neither acceptest thou the persons of any, but teacheth the way of God truly. It is lawful for us to give tribute unto Caesar or no. But he perceived their craftiness and said unto them, why tempteth ye me?
So Jesus knew exactly what they was doing. They was trying to trip him up. So they asked him, look, Master, is it lawful for us to give tribute unto Caesar or no? And what did he tell them? Verse 24.
Show me a penny, whose image and superscription hath it.
So he said, look, give me a penny. And whose face is on this penny? And what did they answer him? Go ahead.
They answered and said, Caesar's.
They said it's Caesar's face on it. So quite naturally, verse 25.
And he said unto them, render therefore unto Caesar the things which be Caesar's, and unto God the things which be God's.
So if the man's face is on the money, give him his money back. Plain and simple. Even Jesus has some understanding. Go to 26. Read that.
And they could not take hold of his words before the people, and they marveled at his answer and held their peace.
So they couldn't take hold. They couldn't find nothing in his words to trip him up. But they marveled at his answer. You know, he said something good. We can't get him with this. So they went away scratching their heads trying to figure out what else they can get him with. John 19. John 19, and this is Jesus before Pilate. Because Pilate tried everything he could to get Jesus off. But Israel was just bent on getting him killed. Pilate beat him and said, see, he beat. Can I let him go now? No. Kill him. But go ahead, 19:1.
Then Pilate therefore took Jesus and scourged him. And the soldiers plaited a crown of thorns and put it on his head. And they put on him a purple robe.
So Pilate had Jesus beat, and then they mocking him. They putting a crown of thorns on his head, gave him a little purple robe like he a king or something. Go ahead, verse 3.
And said, Hail, King of the Jews. And they smote him with their hands.
And they saying, Hail, King of the Jews, and just beating him. Go ahead.
Pilate therefore went forth again and said unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that ye may know that I find no fault in him.
Now, I done everything I can to this man. I'm letting you know, I don't find no fault in him. Y'all pushing my hand. The man is innocent. You had me beat him, put some crowns in his head, bust him in the mouth. What else do you want me to do? He's innocent. Go ahead.
Then came Jesus forth wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priests therefore and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, Take ye him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him.
So they told him, look, y'all crucify him. I don't find no fault in him. Y'all take him and crucify him. Go ahead.
The Jews answered him, We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was the more afraid.
And Pilate was like, uh-oh. What's going on now? Go ahead.
And went again into the judgment hall, and said unto Jesus, Whence art thou? But Jesus gave him no answer.
So he had to say, look, come to my chambers. We got to talk about this. So he asked Jesus, where you come from, man? But Jesus didn't say nothing. Go ahead, verse 10.
Then saith Pilate unto him, Speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee, and have power to release thee?
So Pilate told him, look, man, speak to me. How come you ain't talking to me? Don't you know I got the power to kill you or release you? And what did Jesus tell him? Verse 11.
Jesus answered, Thou couldst have no power at all against me.
You wouldn't have no power against me. What?
Except it were given from above. Therefore he that...
Read it again.
Jesus answered, Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above.
So you wouldn't have, Jesus told you don't have no power against me, except it was given to you from above. So who sets up the kings? The Lord. Pilate was set up for that position to do what he was supposed to do right there. The Lord gave him that power, set him up. Go ahead.
Therefore, he that delivereth me unto thee have the greater sin. And from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him. But the Jews cried out, saying, If thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whosoever maketh him a king speaketh against Caesar.
So from that, after Jesus made that statement, Pilate was like, look, I got to get this dude off. Pilate thought from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him. But the Jews cried out, saying, If thou let this man go. So they went political on him. Thou art not Caesar's friend. Whoever maketh himself a king speaketh against Caesar. So the man's hands were tied. Let's go to Romans 13. Romans 13. Romans 13. Pick it up at verse 1. 13 and 1. Okay, read.
Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same.
So rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. The Lord anointed Jehu to do what? Kill Ahab's descendants. Even though Jehu was a wicked king, he was a terror to evil works. Even though he was evil himself, but we can't question what God do. He's holy in all his works. We just read that in Psalm 145. Go ahead.
For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor.
Okay, let's go to the last place, Daniel 4. Daniel 4. We're going to start at verse 1 because Daniel told Belshazzar what his daddy did. How the Lord made him go crazy because he got full of pride. So let's read it. Daniel 4 and verse 1. Daniel 4 and verse 1. Okay, read.
Nebuchadnezzar, the king unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God hath wrought toward me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house, and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But at the last Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belshazzar, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying.
So his magicians, his soothsayers, they couldn't interpret the dream that he had. It was about some trees. You can read it on your own. But Daniel came in and gave him the interpretation. Skip down to verse 19 and read it.
Then Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belshazzar, let not the dream of the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belshazzar answered and said, my lord, the dream be to them that hath thee.
Read that again.
Which part of it?
The dream.
Belshazzar answered and said, my lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemy. The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heaven had their habitation.
So this is a dream. It was about a big tree. Everybody was under that tree. It was meat for all. The beasts of the field dwelt there. The branches and the fowls, the birds made their nest. In other words, this was the tree of trees. It was ruling. Go ahead.
It is thou, O king, that art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown and reachest unto heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth.
So this tree that you dreamed about, this is you, O king. This is you, Nebuchadnezzar. You have grown and become strong. Your greatness is grown and reaches unto heaven, and dominions to the end of the earth. Go ahead.
And whereas the king saw a watcher and an holy one coming down from heaven, and saying, hew the tree down and destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast of the fields till 7 times pass over him.
So he said, look, where's the king saw a watcher, a holy one coming down? Cut the tree down, but leave the roots, because it's got to grow back up again. Cut the tree down. Go ahead.
This is the interpretations, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which is come upon my lord the king.
So this is the interpretation. This is what's going to happen to you. Go ahead.
That they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beast of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will.
So that they shall drive thee from men. You're going to be dwelling with the beasts of the field. You're going to be eating grass like the ox. You're going to be wet with the dew of heaven for 7 years till you understand that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and he going to give it to whoever he want to give it to. Go ahead.
And whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee. After that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thine iniquities by showing mercies to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility.
That's why Daniel was kind of, reluctant to tell him. Because, man, this dream was about you. You're going to be running around crazy for 7 years, eating grass. Now, get yourself in order, or else this is going to happen. Go ahead.
All this came upon the king of Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of 12 months, he walked in the palace of the king of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spake and said, is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty?
So he forgot who gave it to him. He said, look, is this not the great Babylon that I built for the house of the kingdom by my might, by the might of my power, and for the honor of my majesty. And before he could even get the rest of the words out, look what happened to him, verse 31.
While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee.
Just like you said it, partner, is gone. Go ahead.
And they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will.
So he was chilling for a whole 12 months. And he got big-headed and forgot what Daniel told him. He told him, look, and they shall drive thee from men, the dwelling with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen 7 times, until you know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. And he told him again to give it to whoever he want to give it to. Verse 33.
The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws.
He looked like a crazy man. Hair like eagle's feathers. I don't know what eagle's feathers hair looked like, but it had to be wild and crazy. And he got these claws on his hands too, nails growing so long. Go ahead, verse 34.
And at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and mine understanding returned unto me. And I blessed the Most High, and I praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation.
So at the end of them 7 years, now he got his senses back. And he was like, whew, I bless the Most High, praise and honor him that liveth forever, whose dominion is everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. Go ahead.
And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou?
And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. Nothing. We nothing in the eyes of the Lord. And he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. He do whatever he want down here. Amongst men, he can do whatever he want, and can't nobody say what you doing or why you doing this. Go ahead.
At the same time, my reason returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom, mine honor, and my brightness returned unto me, and my counselors and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added unto me.
So he returned to his senses, and now his servants and everybody else is coming to him like, man, we thought you was gone, bro. Glad to have you back. And I hope you got some understanding in Jesus' name.